cats of the old time rock and roll here. Listen for your heart and soul like a fresh drink of water, don't you know? Right here out of the headwaters of life. Yeah, Spring Creek, man. That neat little place at the center of everything where mama and the kids hang out and play, and there ain't no suffering, there ain't no war, there ain't no boring shit either. Life is just living and excited to be alive, and you can, commune with butterflies and the birds and the bees and the grass and the trees and the rocks too, man. I mean, there ain't no limit to what you can do, man, creatively. So, babies, hey, get it right from the heart, babies. You betcha, multi-dimensionally. Yeah, indeed. Because, all this old-time rock and roll just gets fatter and fatter, don't you know? I mean, with a PH, not an F, man. Weakling. That means, it's the heavy-duty stuff. It's the medicine you really need. That's why you're so addicted to this little medicine show, don't you know? Because it's got the heart, it's got the soul. Ain't nothing like it no more anywhere else except right here. But, well, I think there's little pockets of it everywhere. But this is one of them, man. And it's a great place to be in a morning like this. A trip in Tuesday, which is tremendous, wouldn't you say? Yes, indeed. If you can loosen up that much on a Tuesday, the rest of the week is going to be a trip, and you don't have to worry about it, man. You just go with that magical old flow. It's like you dropped a little DSL there in your cup of coffee, man, and next thing you know, you're out there beyond the universe and the stars looking back in and say, how did I get here? Oh, that's me, isn't it? Wow, how about that, man? That DSL stuff's pretty wild, man. There was Dr. O'Leary there back in the day used to promote that stuff a lot, but they put him away because they thought he was an evil influence on the children's minds and stuff. You know what I mean? Oh, that wicked old CIA wouldn't leave alone, Doctor. Well, they didn't like the competition, for one, because they didn't want people to know they were getting LSD. They just wanted to put it in the water, spray it in the clouds, all kinds of strange stuff they did with people without our consent or acknowledgement. At least that's what the rumors say. You go look it up today on the internet some way, man. I bet you'll find all kinds of info like that. A lot of it's BS, but a lot of it's real, man. But, guess what? There ain't nothing real here, so who gives a hoot? As long as they ain't coming for you, take those other mother truckers away. We don't, shoot, who are they? Uh-oh, Grandpa's got that coyote coming out to play today. Well, it's because it's a tripping Tuesday, and we're under the influence of DSL, wouldn't you say? Well, no, all I've been drinking this morning is coffee and a little toke, unless somebody, well, you never know about that CIA. They might have put, some, happy hippie juice in my coffee or something. Shoot. I mean, there are no limits. Oh, I'm getting over it little by little, guys. It's quite the trauma when you realize that the CIA is the shadow government. There we go. Got it off my chest. I'll be all right now, okay? I told you it was a trip on a Tuesday, baby. It's rock and it's roll, We have to harass the troops a little bit because otherwise nobody else laughs and everybody gets to taking it all serious. Next thing you know, well, we won't even describe what would happen then because it's so boring, man. It ain't like here where you're starting to get it cleared here. Ain't we, Okie, man? Listen to that guy over there snoring away. I tell you what, that's a good job he's got, man. He's on my payroll, on my time, being my assistant DJ and earning every penny of it, wouldn't you say? Because he is little hard, as part of the flow helps us along the way. It's so simple, don't you know? And I won't go on to describe the explicit simplicity of it. Let's just say that, dogs have their way, and they know too, babies, they go with that flow because they know, and so do you if you just wake up a little bit. I mean, pay attention to the dog. Don't pay attention too much to the cat now. She'll scratch your eyes out, man. She don't want you seeing nothing like that. Okay, you got a sweet little kitty cat. I'm just coming out to play today. Cats are like, well, I won't say, but in a coyote way, oh my goodness. Well, guess what? We've had our day with all of that. You know what? The old ancient stuff between the cat and the dog gone away, man. Just good sweethearts are there to play. We ain't got no rivalry growing on, and we don't have to, shake each other down or beat each other up just 'cause we happen to be a kitty or a dog or whatever. You know what I mean? Now, there might be still a little of that going on around you, but listen to the animals' hearts and let them know it's all okay. You don't have to fight for it today. Guess what? It's the end of an era because, a real heart's come out to play inside of a little doggy like a coyote, which was wild. The wildest dog there ever be, wilder than a wolf, don't you see? Why? Because, coyote's got a sense of humor. Wolf is intensity, man. Coyote is laughing. As he's chasing the bunny rabbit. He enjoys whatever he gets into, but it's always a bit chaotic, That's why Wile E. Coyote had to be a cartoon, and so people could catch on to the medicine of life, Now I'm talking back a few years ago. A lot of you guys don't even know, gals don't even know who the hell I'm talking about. Wile E. Coyote was a cartoon character, was always chasing the Roadrunner, and always a great big old failure at it, but guess what? Never gave up. I mean, big old rocks would fall on him. 30 seconds later, he pops up out of the pavement and goes buys a new rocket ship from Acme, and he's on his way. You know what I mean? But see, it's like that old rivalry's gone away too, So maybe some of that clumsiness right along with it, I would say. I've seen those two dining together, and they weren't eating anything that was less than vegetarian. In fact, they weren't eating anything. They were sitting there looking at each other and totally in love, man. There's a reason why old Wile E. Coyote was always chasing that Roadrunner, and why the Roadrunner was always slowing down, letting him catch up a little bit, teasing him a bit and stuff, because, shit. That's the scene behind the scene behind the scene in the cartoon world. There was a real need for a passionate affair there, but of course, because of the diplomacy of the two different breeds, they couldn't do that. They had their social mores, and so they had, the Roadrunner had to run, and the Coyote had to lust after him forever and ever, man. It's just, life in hell. What do you expect, man? Shit. Paradise? Yeah. Because it was a cartoon, see, and nothing really hurt you. You could just pop right up from the pavement, get on with life, man, and have a great time doing it. And finally, in the end, that's the cartoon you ain't seen yet, but it'll play across sky one of these days when the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote sit down at the same breakfast table and look each other in the eye and say, wow, what a night, huh, man? We really took a flight and got that one right. Oh, and it'll just be just one big old circle of radiant love around them. And, everybody from billions of galaxies and shit and billions of miles around here on the earth too just come around just because they can't stand they can't resist that kind of flow, that kind of medicine, don't you know? That's real love. That's rock and roll. That a stranger in the night catching on to the flow and going with the glow, and guess what, in the middle of the night you got great daylight, baby. It's just the opposite of what everybody's expecting. They all want the sun to go out for 3 days so, we can rearrange things and shit. Guess what, man? It's just coming up bright as day right inside of you in the middle of the night. That's right, babies, yeah. So if you get any darkness, it's only so you can see the light of day coming from inside of you and all the rest of this creation, too. See, that's the biggest change when you start to live beyond the universal and move into the dispersal of the multidimensional reality. And it's really not dispersing us into it. It's exorbitantly flowing ourselves into it in a glittery, glowy sort of way that's higher than any DSL could ever get you out to play. I'm telling you, man, the reality is a lot more fun than just the dream, see? And, the DSL was the dream trying to make itself real. And this is the deal, because now we know how to make it real. We rock just right. That's how we do it. And what does that mean, Grandpa? Steady in the heart, steady in the flow, steady in the life you're living, just like rock and roll. Boom, chugga boom, chugga boom, baby. Give me that old time rock and roll. Give me that medicine from my heart and soul. Help me feel better about it, don't you know, so I can get on with it and expand and glow and help everybody else do that too, because that's what we're in it doing anyway. Might as well just acknowledge it, see? It's not a matter of effort and great tremendous. It does take some doing, but it's not a matter of effort and shit. It's just a matter of seeing what's real and being that deal. That's all. See, It's just, letting the whole world dissolve away into a, nothingness, and seeing the reality behind it. Just like the story behind the story behind the story behind the story. The Twilight Zone, wouldn't you say? And then some, I'd say. That's coyote medicine. See, old Rod Serling, that's why he smoked so many Lucky Strike cigarettes. Because, man, he was nervous about it. He thought that they really were going to come and start taking us away and eating us and stuff, But guess what? He knew the real mystery of it. He really wasn't afraid of nothing. Not even a Lucky Strike. He died at 52 smiling, man, because he knew he'd pulled something off. I hope you die as well, if we have to die again, which I don't think we do. But if you do, I hope you die smiling like he did. You know what I mean? I think we ought to just transcend it all. This death stuff, too dramatic, and painful too. Screw all that pain shit, Let's just let the old reality dissolve away, and right along with it goes death, suffering, unconscious feelings, all that ignoramus behavior we've been displaying, and great stupidity all across this earth, man. I'm telling you what, there ain't much more backwards than a human, but there ain't much more any brilliant life than a human either, man. You especially, baby, because, you are the reflection of me, and my cosmic heart says, well, wow, you got to be a little bit higher and a better flyer than I am, okay? Because I'm a little clumsy, man. You've seen the cartoons, Then you start to see why we have cartoons here, to remind us of what we're really living in, okay? It may not be exactly the way they portray it in the cartoons, but the multi-dimensional suggestion is there, man. The story behind the story behind the story behind the story. Just like this story here we're about to share with you, dear. This is some of the rockinest music ever created, because it's kind of in tune with the divine heart and the eternal harmony of the angels and all that kind of shit, man. I mean, it's really heavy duty stuff, but as mellow as jello, and man, as expansive as it can be. Now just consider for a moment. I want you to take 3 deep breaths through your mouth. There you go, see? It was the good shit, the Rocky Mountain High. I went to bad shit, that stuff I breathed yesterday. Yeah, there we go. Now, put your hands down to your side. Well, you can put one over your heart for just a sec. There, now put it down by your side. There you go. And with your little old palm trees facing up so you can read your palms while you're doing this, okay? Just in case you get bored or something, there's your palms, and they're both got some novels written on them, and wow, it's quite a good reading. Just in case now, but I think you'll go with this flow because we got you in the proper, mood now, and we're kind of unified in that flow. Okay, let's go, baby. Here on the Hazy Radio Network, you're in the flow of Spring Creek, babies, from the beginning with Grandpa Coyote, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a whole raft of universal friends like you, baby. We're all in it together, ain't we? Spring Creek, baby, from the beginning, the place where it just happens there. Now, we landed up, if you weren't here yesterday, tardy little child, you got to have a hall pass and a written excuse from your mama to do that again, okay? We'll let you get away with it this time, though. We're easy, man. We're not bloodthirsty. We're just, socialistic indoctrinators that want you to live communally, man. See, we just all of a sudden in the 3D turned all the schools into this reality, into great big round wheel buildings, that have kind of an open floor plan. You can't get away with nothing in secret in there anymore, and the children's mixed up in their own little, groups of interest, not by age, but by what they're interested in today, man, and they pursue it in their own way, and they don't just do it in a classroom. I mean, if they need to know a little bit about rock and roll, they go get some medicine with, heart. They go hang out with the Wilson sisters for a bit and get the hold down on the rock and roll. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a reality. That's a truth. That's a living life. Getting it just right. Babies, we can transform it all. We don't put up with this shit for another minute. Why should we be in prison? Why should we let our children be in prison just because we need a full-time babysitter? Why should we let them be socialistically indoctrinated and turned into these little robotic geeks that can't find one end to the other till about 3 seconds before they pass away in their last breath. They say, I got it! And there you go, man, into that medicine show. That don't fun no more now, is it? What we want to do instead of, like the dramatic deathbed scenes that we love so much. I didn't mean to drop that atomic bomb on. Oh. All the little things that come up. I don't know how many of you had what them NDEs, they call them, a near-death experience. Only hippies have them, though, I tell you that. The rest of you guys, when you die, you just fly. Oh, of course not, but it's a hippie heart that takes you there. Of course, everybody gets to see what they want to see, really. I mean, from the heart, And if you're like in a heavily indoctrinated place, when you're living here and all of a sudden you're dying to go back home, well, home's going to adjust you into it a bit. It's, it's going to work you out of the fakery just a little bit at a time, if you're really hung in it, But if you're ready to really spring and come home, well, shit, they'll do that too, It's all according to the dictates of your heart, don't you know? And the lesson of the flow you're in right then. See, it's a school all by itself. And it is a big round wheel, but it's more than that. It's a big round sphere, And it's not just, this earth. It's like what? The stars, the galaxies, the universe, and the universes, and the tree of life itself, man, surrounded by a great big old circle of love, ever expanding, baby. That is the cosmic truth, you see, living inside of each one of us, because we see that here in the 3D. We feel it. Now we go to that stage where we begin to employ it. To no longer stumble around in the darkness and not know our arse from a hole in the ground, man. And they both look the same, too. And some people took that to be holy, man, and started to worship a hole in the ground, Well, even there we've been found. But you got to put a root down somewhere, man. Think about it, babies. Think about it. If you're going to blossom, you got to have strong roots in the ground before that blossom comes around. Otherwise, it'll just fall down and Humpty Dumpty and, shoot, you don't get to... It's just not that much fun, see? But that's what we did the first time we tried to blossom it out. We got a little top heavy. We forgot to put the root down. So Mama says, oh, naughty children. Now you're going to have to start all over again. You got to find your way around the whole thing all over again. 32 times at least we've done that, man. 32 times. Well, if this is 33, guess what? That's why you see them 333s all over the place. Set you free. The divine paradigm made of 3, because that's who we be. It's a triad, but it's really more of a quadrant. You know what I mean? And then there's the 7 points of light that the sphere has at its center. That's the heart energy. That's where we be, is inside of that one, don't you see? I know I'm kind of expressing it cosmically, and you're getting real tired of this stuff because you're still living in the 3D and having to put up with that. Well, guess what, baby? Just slow down, take a breath or two, and let me talk to you let me talk to your heart for a sec, okay? Now just get the old mind, the intelligent thing, the unintelligent thing, the rigid thing, whatever it is. However it's giving you back talk today, just get it out of the way. Just go push it over there, okay? There you go. See, now just open your heart up and hear what I say. Hear what my heart has to say, because it's your heart coming out to play. And it's saying, take it lightly today. Shine it brightly today. Don't let any of this cosmic interference take you away. Be in your heart. Be in the flow. You'll have peace then, and then you can spread that shit. And it'll work. And you won't have to contend with the ugliness that you've been dealing with, see? You just have to back away from that reality and all the drama in it and see how fixated and reactionary you are in that. It's okay. It's beautiful. You've done your best. You're a real fighter. That's okay. See, but the fight is over. It's time to wake up now. That's the nightmare. Now it's time to wake up and see how all life flows completely together. I mean, completely together. There is no division. There's only us, the glow of life in everything. Us is one gigantic person, too, represented in that sphere that surrounds it all, from the tree of life outward, man. And we're using a heavy metaphor. But it's as real as anything you want to see and feel. It's the real deal, man, because you live it. Because you not only visualize it, you live it. You are that tree of life growing. And you've got your roots down now in the Mother Earth. You had to go through a lot of hell. You know, there's a lot of rocks in the way and shit like that. Just a lot of little stumbling places, and it's dark down there until you realize the light's in everything. And then there is darkness no more. There is the beauty of contrasting shading, yes. But that's complementary. Just like all tones and resonations fit into a singular harmony, the rock and roll rhythm of life. The rock and roll symphony of life that we're all singing in our blossoming stages, see? That's why these others are trying to get you caught in the rages, man. Keep you stuck in that cycle of fight. See, now, when I was a little younger man, a little sturdier than that now, I'm kidding. But anyway, I was quite a bit younger. I must have been 38, 40, you know. I had this angel of darkness come around in human form and really challenged me, really tried to bring me down, really tried to drag me out, you know, into this place where it would be fight forever. But my response was to stay as loving and as calm in that person's presence as I could possibly be, and to find the places where we did agree, you know. I knew this was an ancient soul, brother. I knew it was a contender from the past many times over. You know, if I was to give it a name, well, you know, Lucy kind of loosely fits that, you know, but it's one I'm very familiar with. It's like an alter ego, in a way. You know what I mean? The ego's alter ego, wouldn't you say? Yet there is the divine heart at play. And this person, besides being a cold-ass killer, had a heart of gold. And I was just there to help him bring it forward. But I had to resist continually the temptation to fall into that reactionary place and start dealing with them in a more material way. I could deal with them materially, you know. I finally had to let them go and say, sorry, buddy, but it's time to hit the road. We've got our little journey's over. Now it's time for you to go finish yours, you know. Anyway, it was like, wow, a challenge, you know. And then at the same time, I'm facing death again. You know, I was really ill at the time. That's why I had some extra help, and that's how that person wound up coming around. I was running a little ranch way back in the mountains there in my favorite part of the world, or one of my favorite parts of the world. I love the world everywhere, but this really was, land was gracious to me, though. It was a challenge to live there, as you see. Oh my goodness, what a great place to be if you got to live in 3D. It's like paradise. But just a little shade of hell to keep you interested, you know. Don't want you getting, you know, slacking, man. But it worked out, you know, and I faced that moment. I mean, the moments really got harsh because this person was all cranked up on methamphetamines quite often, you know. And so their behavior was a bit unpredictable, yet real predictable, because you knew that moment was coming, but there was nothing you could do but buck up and face it, because it wasn't going away. Somehow you'd created that for yourself. I'm talking about me now. You created that for yourself in that odd sort of way that we do to challenge ourselves and get things resolved that otherwise would be, you know, swirling around in the world forevermore. We don't want those energies loose anymore. This is the beginning of a time of settlement of old conflicts. And this is exactly what all these moments were about, especially that last one. You know, it could have turned out so tragic, but instead it turned out to be pure magic. The pure love of the heart in motion. And yeah, that guy stumbled away bitter as hell, but I walked away alive and free, and still able to have some peace in my heart, still able to enjoy my life and living, see? And I saw right through him, I saw right to him, and I saw that golden heart behind all that raging pain. You know, you got to understand where this shit starts. You know, usually it's in the childhood, real cruel things, but then there's, you know, a military thing, and oh, geez, some people really get swept away in that, you know. And can't ever let it go. The war goes on forever, you know. And this was one of those classic beings because he inhabited that energy, that Lucy energy. You know, it was very enlightening, very wise and caring in its own way. But ooh, a raging maniac, man, totally out of control. Just, you know, went with the heart of darkness, don't you know? But see, we were there to enlighten that. Not just me. I was a vehicle, a vessel. You know, a beautiful thing that my brother was drawn to me like that. On the same day, the spotted eagle showed up. And that spotted eagle and I, you know, reconnected our universes. And I no longer felt separate from nature anymore. You know, I was learning to live a little more in tune with what's really going on, the vibe, man, you know. So this guy was all part of that, you know, and his old lady too, who was with him, you know. I let him camp in a teepee out back of my house. They're about 150, 200 yards, so they have privacy and shit. But wow, you know, it got to be real colorful there for a while. I'm sure you've heard some of the stories, but man, you see, but when that was over, I knew that thing was settled. That there would never again be that challenge, that I would, you know, be led into this place where I would have to, be fighting forever. No, that was over with. Not that I didn't have a whole lot of hassles still to go in my life and a whole lot of unraveling and waking up. And, you know, I have a tendency to really punish myself sometimes because I felt so bad about the world I was living in and my inability to change it when I really could see it to be so different than what it was. You know what I mean? I didn't like the harshness and the cruelty in it one little bit. I don't think anybody really does except those maybe at the top of the pile. But even they are miserable because no matter what they get or how much more they get, they can't get enough. I mean, it's empty, just like everything else, unless your heart's in it. Then things change, see, rapidly, you know. All I want to do is make love to you? No, with you. You see, and it's a whole different activity than what we're talking about here in the 3D and coupling up. That's just two people, man, you know. This is the whole reality, singing its song to your heart. All I want to do is make love with you. See, that means love is manufactured inside of you and shared greatly from there, see. That means life is manufactured inside of you, so to speak. We don't have, you know, blast furnaces and you know, and processes, industrial processes going on inside. We have a flow. It's magic, just like the old bloodstream is. It's magic, you know, and it nourishes the entirety of the existence around the same way the heart does, see? Because we are that heart, the very heart at the beginning of everything. I call it the mother heart because it cares. It feels everything everywhere. It knows it all. Lives in it. And therefore it knows of it. You see? Because it is that. We are that. It's not so much in it. It's just a heart. A gracious, growing, glowing rock and roll, shucking and jiving medicine show in the flow, don't you know, a heart. It expands forevermore in a rocking sort of way into this reality. Do you realize how rooted down we've got into feeling here since we've been living on the ground of this earth? Oh, darling, we've learned a lot of lessons here, man. We've gone backwards and forwards through time, just as I've been describing about those little moments that seem so undivine and so challenging, you know, yet so rewarding. Because they're ending the limitations in this life that cause conflict in the first place. The misperceptions, the misconceptions that have been so active here and have kept us so divided as people, as persons, and gives us all these different identities to identify with to keep us separated in. So one is better than the other or trying to outdo the other or something like that's going on, you know. It's not even trying to keep up with the Joneses. It wants to annihilate them. How dare they? Don't let any of that get in your way. Just take it for the comedy that it's been, see. And just know you don't have to live that way anymore. That when you're united with life, we're in that flow. It's medicine for our heart and soul, babies. It's the rhythm part of rock and roll. It's the flow of the stream of life. It originates in each one of us. Like we are the very little speck at the center of the universe. That one little light that makes everything else shine bright and be and live. And that one little speck of light, which, is shaped like a heart, but it don't have two sides. It's unified. It's one heart. One singular heart. It thought it lost itself somewhere there along the way. There was some agony and some grief to go along with a whole lot of chicanery, wouldn't you say? I mean, humanity took a hard fall, in a way. But in this other way, we volunteered into it. It's just a drama we chose, a little play we chose to live in forever and a day, until time would go away. Then our true heart could come out and play. And now this time is the time of that day, right now, here, this moment. We're alive, we're awakening, we're rocking with life. We're loving what we've been and loving where we're going. Because what we've been has taught us something, if nothing else. No matter how much suffering there might have been there, and the emptiness and the pain, the numbness you had to be. See, all that's melting down. That's all an illusion in the 3D, see? Yeah, there goes the Wicked Witch again, and here comes the curtain, man. All you gotta do is let it in, man. You'll be shocked when you see it. Yet, you'll be sweetly surprised, too. Because now you start to see who you really are. You rock and roll star. See, we were rock stars before we came here. We've been there, done that. Most of the humanity, there's a few exceptions because there are some here that are just experiencers. But most of humanity are like, veterans of everything that's ever been or ever will be, and learned how to excel at living greatly before we ever chose the challenge of 3D, to see if creation could survive its own bitterness. You see? See if we could go into a polarized reality for a while that was completely 3D and lose ourselves in that, and see if the lost could be found. And see if in the process we couldn't bring all of that polarity shit back around to the heart. And the heart could see that it's a singular reality. Not given in duality or plurality or polarity, you see? That's the shift everybody's waiting for here on the earth. They think the poles are going to shift. Well, anyway, it's not neutralization. It's regeneration. And yes, in this earth reality, we'll see some really weird changes come into being. For example, I see the earth turning to the north and the east. So pretty soon the Rocky Mountain High is going to be the North Pole. And, Antarctica is going to be the sunny tropical continent of, paradise, man. I mean, that would be the appearance in 3D, if 3D remains here, which it don't, of course. It's just our point of beginning, our grounding down. And now we've been found. Because we've done well here on the ground, despite all that we've been challenged with. In these times we are facing, in the surface world, some of the most difficult moments there ever is to be. We're having to face the true savagery of those that live a little beyond the 3D and the disharmony, you see. And we have to realize, well, there's something familiar in all that, isn't there? And if you can look that in the eye and no longer fear it, then you love it. Then it's you. And you just rehabilitated it too. You just reattached it to your root. That energy you thought was so contrary. And now it begins to flow in the glow of your heart, same as all does, see? That's our truth in this reality. That's what we're made of in this 3D. That's why we came here, to get our act together. So that now, from all the chaos, we have the steadiness of the divine harmony that we couldn't hear for the longest of time. And when we did, we thought it was static in the atmosphere. Till recent times now, we start to hear the tonage that makes everything so large. See, a lot of these tunes here now, I got to tell you that, the old rock and roll, etc., that we play here, a lot of these have like all the elements of the universe given in a tonal atmosphere. So, there's one star that resonates at this frequency and run at that and one at that. It's all here in this 3D expressed naturally in the rock and roll. See, that's part of the sneakiness of the heart, rehabilitating itself out of this thing, awakening itself. In other words, was to, bring a whole lot of medicine into the show that would help it remember that it is rock and roll. And that's where rock and roll got its beginnings from, and that's its completion, which is the ever-expansive love of rock and roll given in the atmosphere of the divine rock opera of life, don't you know? It just goes on and on, baby. It is real, more real than the deal we ever imagined it to be. I mean, now I can see why I was so willing to go through so much to get to where we are now. Babies, I did it. I punished myself greatly in many ways. Didn't mean to. I mean, I didn't do it, actively, but proactively somewhere inside there was that part that says, you're going to have a hard ride. That old coyote thing that bites you in, And, well, guess what? I grew a lot more. I learned to be wise by being as stupid as you can be, and stumbling around in reality and get myself beat up for it a lot, I've done some real dumb things, like last year even when I let this cancer thing get out of hand. I had to go get an operation, man, Yet, if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be dealing with myself as well as I am right now, and I wouldn't be dealing with you in the same way. So, babies, it all works out perfectly. And guess what? I'm healthier now than I've ever been in a long, long time. I'm bringing myself back to life. I'm allowing myself to come back to life. But, as usual, I had to go to the edge to get that. I had to give it all away and give it all up and just surrender to the will of the universe and let it take me, And it did. And it protected me and it brought me back to life in its own mojoic sort of way, man. A beautiful, brilliant little act I got to play. Along with all the characters in it, too. You're part of that, We're all the medicine of life. And without our contribution to it, life would not be. That's how integral we are, don't you see? So don't ever think that your light is ever going to go out, no matter what happens here in the 3D. That's drama, don't you see? Surrender to that and be that, okay. That's a fun-loving sort of way. But we'll be waiting for you back here at the turn, where your heart no longer has to burn in order to get something done. I mean, you just flow with it, glow with it. It's all so natural. The wind will never again blow in your face. If it blows at all, it'll be to your back. And if it, mostly it'd just be a cooling breeze when you need it, etc. Reassurance, in other words. Something that adds to, nothing that ever takes from. Nothing you have to dread. The moments of dread are over the moment you get out of your head and back in your heart, baby. Talking to me too, baby. I'm here to set us all free. And that starts with me. Well, Mary J., without her, we probably couldn't find the way, man. But she's shining a light so bright. How do you miss it? You don't. You see that golden heart glittering inside of yourself. You start to understand what a divine instrument of life that might be. Ooh-wee, now you start to take things a little sacredly. It takes a real adjustment in this 3D because we're so used to being numb and not paying attention. Look that way. Oh, don't look at that. Look that way. Look that way. Do that. Keep ourselves distracted with all kinds of things, man. Right down to the root sources of the energetic sharing of life. I mean, we could even use those kind of things as distractions. And we do heavily have. No more. Everything we do now is an act of love so pure that we recognize the sacredness in it. Doesn't mean we can't laugh and have a great time. It means we just recognize the divine in all of it. Set ourselves free to be who we always wanted to be, because that's who we are here in this 3D. Of course, once you start to get that, you expand multidimensionally. Take that 3D right along with us, don't we? You see? Expand and grow, baby. Get some more medicine in your rock and roll heart, okay? Grandpa Coyote Obi-Wan Kenobi, a whole bunch of ancestral friends, a whole bunch of could be called ETs, not to mention our sweet angels hanging around. A lot of the old human saints and sinners too hanging out, man. You know, their souls, their soul presence hanging out here helping us out. You know, I mean, our green room is full. You know, I mean, well, there's always room for more. Don't worry about it, babies. Oh yeah, I just wait till you see what we do here in this 3D as this medicine keeps going in the flow and develops things naturally. Oh my goodness, you won't believe your eyes, your ears, but yes, you will, because guess what? You're the one creating it. Okay. What a beautiful, sweet trip today on this tremendous Tuesday, eh? Hug a tree today, okay? Let it help you find the way. Oh, baby, there is no limit when we're taking it here and getting it cleared here in that rock and roll multi-dimensional heart and soul of yours and mine and Obi-Wan Kenobi's and all these angels too hanging around. Well, yeah, ancestors, extraterrestrials. There's Dr. Stephen Greer out there in the background somewhere. I mean, there's everybody here this morning gathering around the campfire side of town, man, here at Spring Creek, man. Only and exclusively on the Everclear Hazy Radio Network, dear. And if this ain't the rockin'est network you ever found, well, just hang on for a little while. I'm sure you'll find something more your style, okay? After a while, baby. Oh, the heart will turn you this way no matter what. You know, you may be a ravenous long hair, you know, that really loves the orchestrated kind of way, you know, with, you know, cellos and trombones and shit, you know, I mean, well, God, that's just part of it, man. Listen to the Eagles. How many pieces of orchestrated magic do you think was there and taking it to the limit and a little beyond and a little more beyond and a little more beyond until we see there is no limit to what we can be here and what we can do here, babies. The divine dream is awakening inside of every heart there could ever be. Every heart that's living here naturally, baby. And it's literally setting us free. So today, we're easing the tension in the atmosphere. A lot of people been living in fear. I mean, you know, even me, man. Oh, God, I can't say it. But babies, it's the way we play it. And we ain't no fear no more, so it don't matter what's been there, you see? What are you afraid of anyway? You afraid somebody's going to get something over on you? Well, they already did a gazillion times more. Oh, man, I tell you, it's just been rough here, hasn't it, you know? I mean, they're always getting one over on you, no matter how sly you are, you know? You're just not sly enough. There's always somebody a little bit more sly. I mean, the lesson of bad Leroy Bound. Baddest man in the whole dang town, badder than old King Kong, meaner than a junkyard dog and all that good shite. See, that's the lesson of all of that. You can be as bad as you want to be, but guess what? Guess who's coming around? It's the Grim Reaper that's been found right there with you, man. You've been dating her too, haven't you? I know I went out with her a time or two, but I don't know. She and I aren't just exactly compatible, you know what I mean? But we're great friends, man. I love her so, that old Grim Reaper, don't you know? I mean, she's cute, you know, in her own righteous sort of way. Oh, and she ain't giving in the way they portray. I mean, come on, baby. I mean, shit, you know. If God is a hot chick in a Mazda Miata somewhere traveling the universe at warp speed and stuff, I mean, well, what do you think the exact opposite is, too, man? It's Lucy Lou, man, coming after you, man, with a big grin, man. But see, what we began to realize was one was the real and one was the image. The upside-down backwards image in that warped little mirror of love there in that amusement park of life, man. You know, as we stood before admiring our beautiful image and wondering what it could be, we flipped over into it, don't you see? Now we got to flip back out of it, man, because we see our way out of it. See, it's more than just 3D. And when the old 3D starts to get a little glittery and glowing and you know, kind of fades a bit, you know, I mean, just kind of softens and begins to dematerialize, but it's energy, it's flow, it's energy, it's flow. It's beautiful, don't you know? So what it dissolves into is the spectacular reality that you're living in. The place you've been dreaming this dream we've been living in from. See, fire with fire, man. Life in living, awakening to the real life we've been living in the dream. See, a soul presence is a projection into a dreaming reality we, vaguely call 3D. It's got a lot of other terminology, but it's the house of the rising sun, see. Well, guess what? If you want to see the sun rise, you've got to have a little nighttime to go with it, right? So there you go, man. We've been living in the dark ages forever and a day, man. Unable to think, see clear, but yet love could always shine the way and does and did and will forevermore. You know, for all the treachery that's gone down here and all that nasty old war and the savagery and all that crap, you know, all that drama. But baby, it's real when it's in your door, when it's like your people going down, you know. I mean, this is not just some fun little game, yet it is at a heart level. We're here to see through that, to see beyond the avenues of death, the savagery that creates it, see, the pain. To look that pain right in the eye and not be suffering for it, you see. Even if you feel as if you created all of this 3D, which you probably did, but not on the level and the way you think you did. It's held communally here, baby. Divine hearts in motion. H-E-A, well, anyway, plural, divine hearts in motion. And love expanded across the ocean, into the atmosphere, all across the lands there, all inside the earth, all around her too, baby. See, light's coming on everywhere because you show for one moment that you care enough about yourself to allow yourself this sort of freedom. No matter what kind of illusion you've been living in, you begin to recognize that it is that illusion, something you held yourself into. Because you felt at some deep way, subpsychologically, there was a program going on. It says you deserve, you know, some punishment. You got too much, you got too easy, you got to roughen it up, toughen it up, and rah, rah, rah. Ah, man. But see, that's what we're softening up on our little road to Shambhala here, man. You know, getting it clear, man. Seeing beyond the limits because we live beyond the limits. We are the life beyond the limits and the love that creates it, man, you know. Right there on that happy little avenue. It's the yellow brick road. It's the road to Shambhala. It's the high trail to Nirvana, man. And the pathways and the avenues we fly to get there, man. And, you know, a little bit of DSL thrown in there to just add to the expansive charm so you can see it a little more clearly. I mean, cactus juice. What am I saying? DSL. That's a broadcast band for, you know, computers and shit. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm trying to just, you know, it's backwards, man. You know, we live in the upside down world. So I didn't want to say LSD. I wanted to say DSL. Okay. I mean, you know, it's a coyote thing, you know. Darlings, it's been a real experience here with you today already, man. And I really appreciate you coming and play and experiencing it multidimensionally, you know. I mean, it don't get much better than this, but yet this is where we just start out, man. I mean, you know, it's just the beginning, only just begun. You listen to the music and you find the rising sun inside yourself. That's why we're on early in the day, or at least here in the U.S. of A, Turtle Island, wouldn't you say, and down South America too. We're on in the morning, man, you know, and up in the Antarctic and then down in the well, wherever that is, Antarctic and the Arctic too, man. We're broadcasting worldwide, by the way. I mean, you know, I got scientist friends down there at the South Pole probably tuned in right now one way or another, man. I don't know if they get the internet signal or not because, you know, the government censors shit down. I mean, well, that's another program. It's another day. But we won't see it that way anymore, will we? Whatever the gosh darn skullduggery it's been going on here, whether it's in Antarctica or Washington, D.C., Wall Street or wherever else it might be, Rome, anybody? How about London? Oh my goodness, and there's some quiet ones like Victoria, BC, that are kind of the opposite of all that shit, don't you see? And they're here, you know, it's held to blossom for a long time so that the rest of humanity would be encouraged by that, you know, and actually see what's going on here in this 3D. You realize the paradise of life and begin to blossom your presence into it so you match with all the rest of it. And instead of feeling in conflict like a little bug crawling around in a gigantic jungle and you just swallowed up by the vastness of it, you are the vastness of it. But guess what? Given creatively, it's all joined together naturally, the same way the forest and the jungle and the desert and all these other geographic expressions in the 3D. But it's resonating tonal harmony. And when you're resonating with whatever scenery you happen to be in, baby, it sets you free. When you recognize that, in other words, when you see your glow in the flow, your tonage in the harmony of life, and you see and hear and feel the tonage. This is what the cactus is here for, man, to help you open up and get it clear. To hear the symphony going on. The rock opera really is, man, boy. And it's got a deep beat, man. Deep, deep jungle beat. Now listen, before the end of the year, you're going to hear and feel and resonate in the heartbeat of this Mother Earth and be in complete harmony with her tonal resonation. That which causes her to express and experience herself as the earth, and to replicate herself completely inside of every child that lives here, outrunning wild or otherwise. You see, that's a mother love in motion. It's symbolically given here. Yeah, it's a huge metaphor. The whole life is. That's coyote medicine. But when you start to catch on to that, it makes living in the metaphor a little easier, and it begins to extend you beyond it, beyond the 3D. So you got to be willing to see. And not just expect, the monkey trucks in the sky to bring their UFOs around and teach you to fly. You already know how. You already got your own personal UFO there somewhere. All you got to do is call it to you with your heart. It don't hear no other song. See? So if you hear the song that your heart is singing and get it clear, in other words, you're singing. Well, that resonation will bring your own little UFO to you and a whole lot more. This old medicine show we call life. See, that's what the old mother truckers that try to run everything were so afraid of. We might wake up and realize that each one of us is of equivalent power in this reality. And therefore, there can be no conflict, no war. Because, you cannot fight with an equivalent power. That's that one I was talking about earlier, where you get dragged into an eternal at each other's throat forever kind of thing. They had a portrayal of that in Star Trek long back in the 60s, for heck's sakes. That's the illusion we slipped into, but that's not the rock and roll. That's that old time medicine, and all it can do is go round and round, man, but it grows and gains ground no matter what it is. And eventually, it does free itself even from that prison, because, see, there cannot be that conflict in the reality of truth, in living beyond the 3D. Only here could we experience that kind of thing, because it's polarized, Therefore, there could be conflict and polarities. Turn the magnet against each other, the wrong ends to it, and it repels itself. Turn the right ends to it, and it pulls itself together very strongly, see? Well, that's the reversal we're seeing here in the 3D. It's a complete turnaround in the magnetic, yes, but it isn't just a polar shift. It's the poles shifting into non-existence, and us losing our way in the directional reality of 3D. It doesn't exist. But there are the energy lines traveling through it that we've mimicked in our own 3D sort of way. And those are what we flow into as we go through our day here today on this Trippin' Tuesday. The real highways of life, and the music that accompanies it. Why do you think there's not hardly a movie anywhere that doesn't have a musical score? They can hardly say a word in there without there's music in the background, always, And we get conditioned by that. When we start to hear that music as we're flowing through our own life, some of it sticks. And then, if you don't fight with that, if you flow with that, you see beyond the programming of the 3D, and you begin to hear the larger symphony. That this one particular song that got stuck in your head for a little while was coming from your heart, a suggestion of the eternal divine rock opera the symphony of life, So a little minor shadowic representation of it here, yet given multidimensionally, there's the full presence of the symphony of life in it. So listen here, see if you can't get it clear on the road to Shambhala, dear. See if you can't see and experience it that way. See if you can't get yourself on that highway, that road to Shambhala. Man, Three Dog Night, ain't they awesome? They deserve the cover of the Rolling Stone. They got it 3 or 4 times, No, that was Dr. Hook that wrote the song about it. But Three Dog Night, they were like a really unique group. They had their own little way, man. It's beautifully expressed and very popular in its day. And guess what? Make a comeback like a heart attack, man. It's just expansive forevermore in the glow of life. I mean, I think right there at the center of the symphony of life, the center band is Three Dog Night. I'm pretty sure, and there's probably a 4-legged dog that accompanies them too, and leaves its mark everywhere they play. Because in a dog-like world, that's what you got to do, don't you know? It's an experience in the multidimensional in its own odd doggy-like sort of way, wouldn't you say? Getting it clear here with Grandpa and Okie on the free day, freewheeling, Tripping Tuesday. It's a free day every day here, especially on Friday. You want to be around for that one too, babies. Oh, gosh, we get it clear here every day, baby, on the Hazy Radio Network. Ooh. Gosh, I just love you so much, babies. That's why we created this here little Spring Creek, man. So we had a place to come back to, okay? And that's why we're hanging out there today as we travel the highway